Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary, where I do the research to try to teach you a little something about what you're drinking. Today, I wanted to address a question that I've seen 100 times. Basically, people get gifted a bottle of whiskey, they drink a little bit of it, they throw it in their cabinet and just kind of drink it as the time passes. And they want to know, how long will their whiskey stay good after the bottle's been opened? So, there's a few things to know about whiskey. Kind of obvious is that whiskey is not wine. Now, some people will think that you can age a bottle of whiskey. You know, if you have a 25-year-old bottle of Glenlivet 12, it's not suddenly a 37. You know, that's not how it works. Wine ages because of some of the chemical elements within the wine and the tannins. You know, whiskey ages because of the barrel that it is taken out of. So let's start with kind of like the most obvious example. Let's say you have a bottle that's totally sealed. You know, you haven't opened it, whatever, and you throw it in your cabinet. That bottle could potentially last forever. Now, there's a pretty famous case where there was a case of McKinley's, and it was stuck in the ice of Antarctica for over 100 years. Now, they were able to recover this, I think it was like 5 or 6 bottles, and they were able to test them by sticking syringes through the cork and observing the whiskey. Now, they say that this whiskey will never be tasted by anybody just because they're preserving it for historical reasons, but they were able to test that little bit of whiskey that they took out with the syringes, and they said it survived fine. They said it would probably taste just as good as the day it was bottled, if not like slightly worse. But in general, that's some proof that it can last virtually forever. So let's go to a more realistic example. I have a friend who every year he buys a bottle of Four Roses. He does this to commemorate his grandfather. So he opens the bottle, and what I'd want to know is, 6 or 7 months later, is that bottle just as good as the day that he opened it? Well, assuming that he stored it in his cabinet and he didn't leave it open or in a decanter, and there was no huge temperature variations or no direct sunlight, that bottle will not have any real significant difference between day one and 6 months or even a year later. That bottle will be totally fine. So, personally, I have a slightly more exaggerated example. So I had a bottle of Glenlivet 18 that I was gifted, and I drank about 75% of that bottle probably month 1. I just loved it. It was delicious. And then I realized I was almost out, and I just stopped drinking it because I didn't want it to go away. So I let that thing sit around for almost 2 years, and occasionally I would break it out if a friend really wanted to try it or something, but ultimately there was maybe like 10% of this bottle left that was like 2 years old. And let me tell you, that did not taste anything like the day that I first opened that bottle. And a big reason for that is that so much of it was gone, and it was exposed to a lot of air. Even though it was corked, there's just a lot of air sitting in that bottle. So a few things to know are that you should store your whiskey standing up. Whiskey has a very high alcohol content, it's part of the reason we like it, and that will deteriorate your cork. Now, wine is stored on its side because it has much lower alcohol content. It will deteriorate corks. In fact, you've probably seen some examples of this, but not nearly as fast as whiskey will. So store your whiskey standing up. If you have more than 50% of your whiskey left, you're probably good for about a year. If you're closer to like 90%, you could maybe even make it to 2 years. But in general, you don't want to really have a whiskey sitting around for more than a year. If you're below 50%, or more specifically below like 25%, you've maybe got 3 to 4 months left in that whiskey. So in general, my advice for you is don't just hang on to your whiskey. Even if it's something really special to you, if you want that to taste just as good as the day that you opened it, just go through it. Maybe drink it a little bit slower and keep some money away and just buy another bottle. Either way, if this has been an informative video for you, I really hope that it has been. Please consider subscribing, or at the very least, check out one of my other videos. I'll put a link up here. I really appreciate you coming by and watching some of my videos. Thanks.